order. It is 10:05 on, what is the date?
23.
May 23rd, 2023. And we're being videoed. And we got a letter here to Lisa. We got a letter from planning.
Yep.
Planning. That, yeah, because she's on conservation too. For the Melissa Cryan approval from the planning board on our hard
right.
work on our plan.
Excellent.
Support. So we'll send that.
Oh, Melissa does those too? Melissa.
She's the one that reviews them, Melissa Cryan.
No, I was just curious. She does grant reviews too, but grant applications. I forgot it. She did both. Cool.
All right. So we're here today to talk about the Chapter 61. And everybody got the little blurb that I wrote out from the state. So that's, I sort of took notes from that. I'm not really sure who's supposed, it shouldn't really be us to do this on open space, but we need to get it straightened out so everyone knows what the rules are beyond it, but pretty straightforward, but except where I think there was one place in there that I thought that they should add open space committee should be notified as well.
So that's also what the missing Suzanne Kane directive said.
That it was missing that?
No, that whether or not that it had become, basically it had become policy for Douglas to include open space committee in the review process. So I'll look, I haven't had time to look, but I need to look for the Suzanne Kane memo. And why that's disappeared, I do not know.
You have to prepare. There's those booklets too from the state about
Right, but Suzanne's was specifically to how
it would work best in this town.
it would flow through the town.
But I mean, this thing online pretty much explains it all. You know, did you read the thing on the computer?
But it seems like each town has their own
Right.
thing too.
So that's the state that gives you the basic outline, and then if you want to tweak it, it's under yeah, depending on what your town does.
And like looking at Auburn's, they actually say you must provide the notice of intent by certified mail to the town manager, Board of Selectmen, Board of Assessors, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Open Space Committee. And I don't know if we have something like that.
And the state forest.
Yeah.
So I thought we
And I
did.
think that's the piece that seems to always be missing. We're like the last ones to find out. But if the actual person doing it had to
Send out
had
his
it-
points,
yes,
and we're one of them.
And we're one of them, instead of we have to wait till everybody else knows about it, and then if someone decides to tell us.
After it's already been decided.
Instead of us stalking everyone's meetings and trying to see if it's on an agenda or something.
You don't stalk ours.
The other thing is, it can be online, and it can be this, here, there, and everywhere, but I think it would be helpful for us to go to a meeting and say, this is why it's important, this is what we're looking for when it comes before us. And it's not just, oh, it's an A&R lot, so we're not interested.
Right.
It's like, how does this fit in a plan, like Walnut Street? You know, the information
Right.
didn't work out, but we are looking at a bigger picture. Because I feel like it's just, they're all being rubber stamped and
Yeah.
pushed forward.
Yeah.
So,
So what we want to do is, at each time something comes up, sort of, well, make a presentation before all the boards and give them this blurb that we think is the best.
no, I think, unless I misunderstood, I think it should be a separate agenda item, not contingent on the next piece that comes up or anything like that. It's just we want to come educate you about how this process works. Because a lot of these committees have new people and they,
Right,
Right.
right?
right.
Now, on the, I think I mentioned that before, but on the side of the landowner filing to keep their property in chapter protection, the deadline's been pushed to December. Is it December 1st?
Yes.
I think, instead of October. So that's basically one change. But
To sign up or,
so every year you have to renew your request, because it's a tax protection. Every year you have to renew your request. So by December 1st, if you don't renew it, you basically fall out of protection. But it's with the fiscal year, so it's not until the next fiscal year that you're out of protection. So,
you're not out of protection till June.
yes,
So if
for July 1st.
fall out and July 1st. Out.
I believe that's the way it works.
And they have to pay at that time, the back 5 years?
No. If you do not renew your protection, and when we meet with the assessor, he can clarify that, but you go from a protected status to the next tax cycle, like say you had 200 feet of frontage on that piece of property, you would be taxed at the full tax rate for that piece of property as a house lot. The only way you're paying back taxes is if you are still protected and you petition the town to be taken out of protection.
So you don't have, if you just let it drop out, you don't have to pay that?
Correct. But it doesn't always work on people's time frame.
Right.
That's the issue. Now, some of that may have been changed in the more recent regs, and that's the owner's side, that's not the town's side.
So when do they have to pay the back taxes? When they sell?
If you had a piece of property in protection today, and you were paying a third of the taxes that everybody else would be paying,
Is that around the ratio?
more or less. So if you were paying a third, and then you let it go, or you sold it before it fell out of protection, then you would have to pay the back taxes.
That's for 5 years.
Yes.
So if you don't sell it or do anything with it, then just pay the regular tax, go back to the regular rate.
Right. Moving forward, you go back to the regular rate. But on the town side, there also seems to be a lack of understanding that once you have the purchase and sale, you have at least 120 days to make a decision or to assign it to other conservation-minded organization type of thing. So there is no rush. And I know, Suzanne, would get frustrated because people wouldn't put it on their agendas or,
Let it go.
yeah. There just needs to be a better way to say, or like that last that last foreclosure notice, I don't understand why it circulated through a couple of boards with the idea that there was something to vote on. It was just a notice. So, I don't know, maybe we can tweak something a little bit that says, people are overloaded, but it's just, it seems strange to me that would happen.
So if it's a foreclosure, does it automatically come out of that status, or
No. I mean.
someone else could buy it and keep it in that status, or?
It could be transferred, I think, yeah. but it depends on the timing again.
Right.
So if the original owner never filed to keep their status, then it's already fallen out,
Right.
depending on where we are in the, right? But some of that might need a little research before everybody jumps to conclusions, so.
Can't remember if I mentioned that.
And then like Walnut Street, I mean, if she had taken it out before she broke it into lots, she would have saved a lot of money.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
If you, yeah.
A lot is more
Well, if
valuable.
you, and if it's subdivided, you've changed the status. So that's part of the chapter, is if you sell or if you change the use. And that's where the solar operations go into some hazy territory that I don't really understand, but if you change the use from
Yeah.
forestry to something else. And most of the time around here, it's residential development. Then that triggers chapter 6. And there are 3 types, so, but, do we want to do something like this Auburn one? Just modify it a little bit to our?
I think that's a good start, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this is, I can't remember, is it a PDF or is it a Word? It's a Word document. Anyway. I mean, I could go through it and just modify it so that it's
And why don't you talk it through?
a draft for us, for the town, and then we can suggest it to the selectmen.
So there's just one little thing at the end.
So it'd have to be updated and stuff like this. What page are you on?
It's the very last page of the state thing. It says this section shall not apply to a mortgage foreclosure sale. But the holder of a mortgage shall, at least 90 days before foreclosure sale, send written notice of the time and place of the sale to the parties in the manner described.
There's something in the state thing that covers that. I didn't get to
Yeah,
the
that's
end
what,
of it.
it's the very last paragraph.
Yep.
Basically says they still have to notify the same people of the intent to sell or convert.
So this is from 2018, so it could have, I know they've made, including changing the date, they've made some modifications at the legislative side, so I could try to find out if there's more updated. Anything else?
Kind of got a little weird about at the very end of this state one.
Like,
So if the town doesn't record, it shows town not exercising its option. Now, what else don't we like in the Auburn one? I can't find it.
well, I can take the Auburn one and then I can do a track changes so you can see, what's been changed.
Yep.
I think that would be the easiest thing to do and then review that.
I will look for the ones in the flyers that I have, see if there's an example in there.
Yeah, I think I have some of those flyers too, but if you want to tell me what you want to include, that would be good.
I mean, a lot of this Auburn one is just repeating what's in here.
Right, it's just like you said, it's tailored to them to make sure their
Right.
specific committees get noticed.
But I like the fact that the person actually doing the notice of intent is required to tell us as one of the certified letters. 'Cause that would, then we're right in on the beginning instead of, you know, like I said, finding out through
This
somebody
is
else.
the first thing you do, is
Right.
share this.
So everybody sees it, you know.
You know,
Well,
so,
I think what they've been doing is sending a certified letter to the Board of Selectmen to CC all these other committees, including us, and then it's up to somebody else.
Right.
Right?
Pass it along.
And then why is that up to the town? Because this should be on the shoulders of the person petitioning.
Right.
Provide a notice of intent by certified mail to each of the following.
Right.
No CC.
Yeah.
So the other thing here is town requirements.
Yeah.
And I personally think this first one is important because I am unclear here in town who determines the validity of
Right.
the notice.
That's what I was going to ask. Who is that?
Because we could have avoided some of this stuff if we had, so on Walnut Street, the first one was invalid, but who determined that?
Yep.
And then went back out, okay, that was valid, but who determined that?
so, yeah, it wasn't until, you know, the Board of Selectmen looked at it, and they probably didn't really know what the right way was, you know? They didn't spend the time to look at it.
Well, but it's the administrator, I think, that puts the agenda together for the board, so, or the chairman, so I'm just trying to avoid,
Right, redundancy.
but also getting into any of those situations again.
We have a town council, right?
So that begs the question. On this list in the front, it does not say town council, who it should be sent to. But since the town council has to review it to make sure it's correct, that,
But that's a directive of the department or the Board of Selectmen. But that's not a process question we could find out more about. Because
Yeah, because who gets it to the town council then?
Because everybody can't just submit something to somebody in town town's council, because then the town is paying for that
Right.
review. So then you've got all billable hours that stack up and aren't authorized.
Right.
But under town manager, I like this part about, and I don't know why there can't be maybe a cover letter to these things or something from the town manager, the administrator that says, you're assessing the potential impacts to the town's natural resources, zoning, master plan, open space plans, potential impact on town services. That's critical. You're not assessing whether this is an A&R lot
Right.
or any other zoning issue.
Get everything, not just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then maybe we need to look at,
Yeah, now here it says the town manager may forward such notice to other relevant boards. We should say they should.
well, that contradicts the first.
Yeah,
part,
it
right?
does.
So we got to watch out for those things. But I don't think recreation isn't on this first one. On the first page. Now, a lot of these things are case-by-case basis, but say,
And that might be what they call their committee, but it should say the same thing.
maybe we have to think, we don't have to do it now, but we have to think about a process whereby, if we were really interested in the parcel, like that Walnut Street piece, how do we preempt another board or committee voting to not recommend? How do we get what's our process to be able to go in and make a presentation and sell, basically say, this is why we need you to vote to recommend that the town take this property? Because I get concerned with that. Put it on the next agenda, just rubber stamp it and move it on.
Right,
Right,
right.
if that's not their area, then they should consult conservation or open space, any of those, and see, review it together.
Maybe we can put that in here somewhere. Consult for a determination or something like that.
I mean, should we, when we find out about one of these, should we have a special meeting to sit and go over it so that we can act within the 120 days within the timeframe, so it doesn't get pushed off?
Oh,
I don't-
that's okay.
Because then, we could just say, hey, we got one, when can everybody meet? And we could get together and say,
Instead of waiting for our next break.
right. Because then they might already go ahead and vote on something. And if we can get ahead of that and say, hey, we reviewed this, we don't recommend buy it, or, hey, we looked at this and wow, that's going to be great for Douglas. We can keep it and we can do our presentation or whatever to show them this is why we think we should keep it.
Yeah, or like when the notice comes in, the chairperson can poll the committee to see if special meeting is needed. Right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
I'll share it with everybody and see if everybody.
And that could be like a special review session.
Right.
And then, if not, we can wait till our regular meeting to vote.
I mean, even if we had to do it by Zoom,
Yeah.
we could certainly do that, and then just, because if we all go look at it and go, oh, no, I don't see what good that's going to be,
Why do we have to?
we can just all say, nah, I don't see any use for it, or somebody can say, I think we should have a quick Zoom meeting or something. It's probably the quickest way to get it done, so that all these other boards don't go voting for it before we even get a chance to talk about it. that.
Like for
And then maybe we can jump on their next agenda and say, hey, we saw this is what we think. Right.
Well, I think we should try that, see how it works. So that doesn't necessarily have to go into this, but this could, that's.
Right, yeah, our call.
This could be our process.
Yeah. No, this is, the town manager will post a notification on the town's website for public viewing. So I think that's perfectly valid and a great way to go because the notification with a map.
Yes.
So we need to make sure with map. Because otherwise, oh,
But we're on the town website, you know?
well, that's back to, how long have we been talking about that now? It's just never moved forward, so we have to start going forward. That last paragraph, 21E, sorry.
Burn my house instead.
Hey, how would you do that? And 21E is a cursory environmental review to make sure there's no hazardous waste, dumping, that kind of thing. I think that should be included in.
Yeah.
Something in here about, going to the property, yeah.
Yeah, it's under town manager. Soil testing purposes of Title V.
Yeah, including but not limited to.
Yeah. But I think we should specify some environmental.
So see, this says they notify the Board of Selectmen within 30 days if one of the committees thinks they should apply it.
So, we gotta look at that time.
Yeah, it's fast.
Within 30 days. So you get the notice, within 30 days, you're supposed to notify interest, reasons, and purpose. So I don't know, maybe that's not such a bad idea. Then if you don't react,
We assume that.
you'll be assumed that any entity not submitting a response does not wish to recognize. So in some sense, that makes sense because that's the first month. 120 days is 4 months. So that way it gives it, if we have to go to town meeting or do this or do that, we can think about it. could
I
find
mean,
that
if
in
we
other
do,
towns.
yeah, I mean, if we do get it right away and look at it right away, we could,
Well, within, so that 2 days is within 30 days.
that should give us time.
Yep.
But at the same time, this next paragraph, following receipt of the notice of intent, the Board of Selectmen will schedule a meeting, probably on the next board agenda. Well, that hasn't allowed enough time for the 30 days to go by to reach
Yeah, so
the
it should
other
say
committees, right?
After.
preferably after the 30 days.
Yeah. Recommended that the abutters within 500 feet of the land be notified. So the other thing this also triggers is that whole question of going into executive session.
Right.
So if we recommend this, I guess I'd like town council's determination, because I go back to, if you ask for your property, if you file an application for your property to be under chapter protection, that's the assessor's office, that's the tax record, those are all public information. If you send a notice that you want to remove that, it's dispersed through the town's administration. It's public information. The selectmen have to decide to pursue it or not, but there's no negotiating a price. There's no, so I fail to see why there's a need for executive session. I don't know enough about that.
We didn't get a satisfactory answer the last time.
Well, they cited a property dispersal or something, a real property, and it's like, okay, fine, but this is different. So I don't know how to answer it.
Do you think writing a letter to town administrator and asking him why?
Yeah.
Find out why.
I think that's maybe what we have to do.
I don't know.
Well, I think we have to figure out if we make these changes, these modifications, and this is the way we want to go, so that according to the schedule, that they wait until after the 30 days, and then it comes to the board. And then it's supposed to be a public hearing, right there. That is, per Mass General Law, if the board is considering exercising or assigning the right, they must schedule a public hearing.
So it can't be executive session.
But this is even before that. So I think that's where the letter has to focus, or something. Where does take a formal vote at a scheduled meeting within the 120 days. Oh, Chapter 39B, I gotta, all right, I have to look that up. So, I'm not sure I think we need to figure out, you can draft a letter, I guess, but what sequence does this happen in? Because according to this, I don't see where there's any executive session. the selectmen are supposed to collect the feedback and put it on their agenda.
Yep. And hold a public hearing. Whether
So-
they take a formal vote, they don't have to take a formal vote at the public hearing. I think that would be just to gather the information, if I'm reading this right. Then within 120 days, from between 30 and 120 days, after the public hearing, then take a formal vote.
So maybe we should break this down a little more in our version.
And we almost make lists of, the procedures. and
Step 1, step 2.
Items,
So I don't see where there's any trigger for executive session. But
It's so weird that they just did that. I've never had that experience before. 6 months.
Actually, we don't know that. Because if they called it executive session, it's my understanding they haven't released the executive session minutes in years. So if they did something in executive session with a chapter property, we don't know it. So maybe we should ask for some of those. So then you get into, let's say, well, funding and stuff, that's separate and apart. Because right now, we're concerned with the process. So I can modify this and send around a draft, and then we can look it over at our next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Write a letter. Attempt a letter.
So maybe it looks at some of the, when we get these steps down, and then say, okay,
Spell it
No.
out, yeah.
we don't see any trigger for executive session.
Yep.
Is that,
So just nip it in the bud at this point, rather than getting into lawyers. That sounds good. Yeah, and if you do see, if you guys can find Suzanne's, put one out too. See if there's some good she brought up.
well, it was much more, it was very process oriented.
been here 15 minutes.
Did anybody watch the selectmen meeting last week? Because there was an update from DCR. No.
I followed up on that.
Oh, okay.
I did, I heard about that, so, because Tim Bonin reached out to me. So I went on, looked at the meeting to see, and found out who it was Kevin Hollaback. So I emailed him and asked him, I said, do you have an updated copy of the plans? And then he replied back to me with a CC to Paul Janicki. So Paul Janicki sent me the plans. So what they're doing now is a 10-foot wide section is going to be basically like a 3/4 inch minus processed gravel. It's going to be natural surface. And then a 5-foot wide strip is going to be something with a soil stabilizer to make it ADA compliant. So they're giving the bigger strip to the trail users, 10-foot wide, then 5-foot. In where that's so wide, there's also going to be grass shoulders on either side too. But so then 5-foot will be for the ADA people, wheelchair or whatever.
How did they,
Separate.
I don't know how they're going to delineate that, if it's going to be, if it's like a stone dust that's stabilized, because I know they did the whole path like that in Franklin Bellingham. They just did the whole path that way.
yeah, very nice.
So I think it's going to kind of get lost in the shuffle personally,
Spread
but,
out with each other, you know?
yeah, but 3/4 inch minus, that packs down pretty good too. So I think it will be pretty close. It's not as soft. So, but anyways, it's not being paved. The parking lot on South Street, they're not going to let horse trailers park there.
Where are you supposed to?
There will be parking on Depot Street. They're making 6 trailer spots, so they're going to do the paved part in the middle, and then past that, because where it's all wooded, almost up to the other house that's right there, that's all DCR land.
Oh,
So
so they had more space to be able to.
they have a lot more space there, yes. So the trailers and everything will go on that part where the trees are. I think they're going to keep an oval section in the middle. I can send you the copy of the PDF plan file to look at it if you want. My only question was that no gates, no bollards. I guess in Franklin and Bellingham, they don't have those right now anyway, since they've redone those sections, and they're not having an issue, so I'm like, okay.
I mean, I've been like Lee Street up there.
Yep.
Because the gates, you can't get around the gates. Horses.
Well, we can get around the gates right now,
Yeah.
with the gates that are out there. That was my only question. So for the most part, there's no pavement, and it's going to be conducive for what everyone out here wants. They figured 2027 to begin construction. By the time they get through whatever they need to get through on that end, and put it out to bid and get that paperwork.
So, I guess if you see, what I'm struggling with is if you see a Board of Selectmen agenda, it says DCR update.
Yeah.
Why can't
Details.
there be a link to the plan that he presented?
He didn't present that plan. He
Or-
was there. He was there mostly to update them on the usual stuff at Wallem Lake for how they're going to continue handling the
Crowd.
correct. Right.
So then it drifts off to, what are you doing with the snap?
Yes, that ended up.
I mean, so the thing is, process-wise, how are we supposed to know about this stuff? That's what I struggle with, because there's no context. All right, DCR owns thousands of acres, and there's no context. We're talking about trails, we're talking about the SNAP, we're talking about...
The beach.
The beach,
Right.
yeah. Can we have more context in these agendas? Because otherwise you're supposed to sit there and watch, or...
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't have known about it until someone contacted me about it.
And I can go back and watch, but it's just...
Yeah, I don't think he was prepared. He just gave a rough thing about, it was updated. They listened to all the public input, going through finished drawing out the plans, going through the permitting process and stuff like that, and construction to begin in such and such a date and time frame. That was
Is that
it.
on their website
There was no
anywhere?
specifics on it whatsoever.
Is that on their website anywhere, you think?
I have no idea. It was easy for me just to
Yeah.
Yeah, but
say, hey, I want a copy of this.
Yes.
if we remember, there was, 70 people in this room talking about future plans for that trail, and then, oh, we've decided this, and it's just...
I thought it was gone, yeah.
Are you reaching out to people with emails to give them an update? I mean, it's just...
Yeah, I know. It just
It's like,
it
it's like
falls off the
everything's a
map.
big secret.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to take a...
Someone's coming in at 11.
I'll email you guys all the,
How many times did we give them? Right? Come on.
I have homework still, apparently.
Oh, so this is yours. I mean, he's got it. Doesn't he have it?
You should. Yeah, I can email it you guys a copy of the, it's 14 pages in the PDF. I was looking at some of the places down by Rocky Brook and by I think that was the Connecticut town line. There's gonna be places there where there's benches, you can stop and do this, and there's supposed to be bike repair rack and stuff. I'm like, no, what about mounting blocks and a hay feeder?
Exactly. A water trough.
Exactly.
Yeah. And where, I mean, do you go down to the High Street spot and park along the road there? And trailers?
Technically now there's enough room I could, but trailers use that South Street parking lot a lot. I mean, a really lot. And even when they did their initial presentation, the picture that they had of the South Street parking lot had trailers in it. They just
Why are you taking it
decided
away from us?
to boot those out of there. But I mean, even though it's going to be paved and there's, where they're configuring it with the parking area, I think there still might be room for someone to pull in there and come around and just take up a whole bunch of parking spots. I don't think they're going to keep them out 100%.
I was surprised that they don't let them in down to the lake parking lots in the summer. There was a big crowd up at the upper parking lot recently, and I said, wow, there's a lot. He goes, well, we got to get them in before we're bounced out of here.
Usually parking
Well, it's so
the
busy
dirt
up
area.
there during the summer, we probably never get out if we got in.
Right, right. Could be permanent residents.
It's easy to park at Carter Field.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Lisa disappeared, so we're just hanging out here chatting about trails. Guys, come on up here.
I don't want to be ahead of you.
That's what we all avoid it. Plague.
Camera shots.
Yeah. I think they get it, so I usually go for the spot on the back of my head.
That's why I wear a hat, I have no hair.
Some people are proud of it, some people aren't.
Actually, I shave it all off because I don't like to maintain it.
Deal with the few hairs, yeah. All right, I guess the Conservation Commission is proceeding on the sign. I think they met the other night or whatever, so. Yeah, we're back to like, okay, who wants to move the rock? Becky's got a friend on the Keven property, you know.
So this is off of the Southeast Main Street?
Right,
or-
right,
Okay.
where we met
Yeah.
3 years
It was a
ago.
while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So, yeah, we met up there a couple of weeks
Sorry, I'm
ago
picking it up.
again, and it's the same crowd of people
I don't
across
know
the
if I
street and
remember.
everything like that. And
Yeah.
they were even saying if we cleared the road off, took a few trees, maybe we could have little additional parking on their side of the road.
Oh, on the opposite?
Yeah, for trailers or whatever. But, yeah, so Becky knows somebody who can shear rocks.
Well,
Split them or something?
yeah, split them. There's a guy in Oxford that we used to split one rock for us at the Hodges Village Dam in Oxford. But, so I know we have a process, so I know that the trees need to be removed, and then we gotta remove some of the stones at the front area to establish where the parking lot's gonna be. So I'm not sure, so the town of Douglas would take down the trees, correct? Am I correct in
Right,
that?
we have to pay someone to take trees down. We have a tree crew that comes in, and it's about $2,000 a day. What they get to do.
So what's the procedure on that? To get a trail crew, we would have to go to the Board of Selectmen to ask them to,
I'm not sure if you guys have a budget, or how does that?
We used to get $100 a year, and then they recommended 600, because you can't even buy candy with 100. You know? So they recommended 600, and then they dropped it down to 300, but I haven't seen, I don't,
We're also doing this in conjunction with the Conservation Commission, so they might have a budget to be able to do that.
right, but they're probably putting money towards the sign, too.
Well, first things first, so,
So how big of an area are you thinking you need to clear there, or?
well,
10 feet wide,
the
right?
trail is 40
we were out here, I think
Yeah.
before COVID, right?
Yeah.
So there's a trail that's 14
and a half
almost
foot wide,
15
yeah.
feet wide. And then beside that, there's an easement. And the easement is, what did I say?
10 foot, it's 10 foot wide.
By
and
25
25 feet deep. So the front, you've got 14 and a half plus the 10. And then you can go, which, for all technical purposes, you would clear that whole area there anyways. Then the sign would go in the back. So you're talking
So,
almost 25 by 25.
Okay.
and the idea was that we would take the stone wall and swing it to be the bound, to the delineation for the easement. And then put the sign back here to be another sort of delineation, so that it would show people that this is where you could park. Or blow it up. But we need the trees out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's not a full day's worth of tree taking in there, although.
It depends on how much, like, sometimes we get 3 trees done in a whole day.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 4, it depends on
Yeah.
how much they have to do, and if they can't cut them down, they gotta lower them down piece by piece, or, so it all depends, like, that's what ends up happening.
Yeah.
We counted how many trees.
I did.
We measured the breadth of them all. and
Yeah.
everything,
I know the last time we were out there, the gentleman on the house before this, coming from Maine, had concerns about the bounds. Are we clear where they are now?
So, yeah, he surveyed it, and it's for sale.
Rebar.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully, it's a nice person coming in.
Well, I think he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's very concerned about his property.
Understood.
So what kind of, just going to the parking lot, you're gonna try to make it the whole width? I mean, I don't have a horse trailer, so I'm just trying to think of how you'd swing it in.
No,
You're
back
not,
it in.
that's not,
No.
that's for cars.
It's just for cars?
only.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking of horses,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Okay.
that's not- it's-
Okay, so it's not it's not big enough for that. I know you guys have usually
Yeah.
big turnarounds for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not.
It's 25 feet deep, but that's not.
So it's more of like a walking trail type of thing, is that
Yeah.
what this? Okay.
You can get two or three cars in there.
Yeah, yeah.
So that'll be about,
So just like the same, like you have on Mumford Street, like a small little parking area, wooden sign type of thing?
Probably not easy. It's just to get the car off.
Yeah, you don't want them on the road,
They
right?
can't.
Understand
They
that.
It's kind of a horizon.
Yeah.
so, question then, once the trees are out of there,
You don't have to.
can the town do the parking lot,
I'm sure we
highway
can
department?
So
scratch
some
out
gravel
some
on it.
stones and what have you, and try to get a little gravel. It's not a huge area.
No, okay.
I think it'll be a huge undertaking, just, take a few stones, make a little.
Level it out, yep.
area.
Okay.
So there's a town property, a trail with an easement. So is it possible to, the outside chance, could we have someone donate the tree work?
I would guess we'd have to talk to Mr. Wojcik to make sure it's, we can do that. I would imagine as long as they're insured and they name the town on their insurance, in case something bad happens, obviously it could be done.
Okay. It's an outside possibility.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So if that doesn't work, can you get your, how do we I mean, before we go to conservation and say this is what we need for funds, can you get an estimate?
Yeah, I mean, do you roughly how many trees, any idea?
We
Say
count-
20
It
trees,
was like
8 trees?
13 trees or something.
Are they all very large, do you know?
No, not.
A couple are on the street.
Yeah, we can come back with the proper
Yeah.
information.
I did write that all down.
Details.
but I-
Makes it easier for the guy to come out and look at the job.
Yeah, we could even put ties around the trees or whatever.
Yeah, that'd make the most sense.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't paint them, I just put some caution tape.
Yeah, yeah.
Surveyors tape.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, this is a very, it's 10 by 25 is the easement, and then we have the extra 14 with the trail.
So it's like 25 by 25. And it's right, I mean, I think the people beyond have made their driveway is literally the corner.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they made it an extra
Access
little
driveway,
driveway,
yeah.
yeah. They have a turnaround, but then they have an extra one up to the back. It's kind of on land. And then people, you know, probably like across the street, they'll just walk their horses across the road and she has a horse, but it's not there.
So if we mark the trees, how soon, or can you ask one of your contractors to go look at the job and we'll mark the trees?
Absolutely.
So coordinate with Sue, or?
Yeah, just call the highway when you're ready.
Yeah, I will.
And,
Yeah, I'll bring
get
it,
the,
bring the paper down and show you what you want.
yeah.
Yeah, the parking area has no real boulders or anything that can't be moved, but it's just a,
Regular equipment. Yeah, the bigger stuff is
further
further
in.
back down on the trail.
I remember seeing some big boulders further down.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
squeeze
one
the
the size of a
trail.
Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I had, why don't you put it back in your foundation?
And I know further down on the trail, there's a good-sized pine that needs to be taken out too, because that's pretty much in the middle of the trail, but I didn't know if we should do phase 1 first and then
Phase
worry
2.
about that.
Yeah, I mean, you might find more as you, I don't know the trailhead back there.
Yep.
You may find more as you make it.
It's just to get to the back, and
Yeah.
then then there's the stone wall that's there that we bank it somehow. And there's, you know, apparently, according to the guy who grew up on that land, there's a lot of trails in the back there already. People use just from their backyards and stuff.
Where does it connect to? I don't even honestly know the
It's
place.
the person that gave the land lived on Chestnut Street.
Oh, okay.
Tom Keevan's
Keevan.
property.
Oh, okay, all right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a big area.
60 acres.
Yeah.
It would be nice if we could get an access to it from like one of the other streets besides Southeast Main.
Sure.
Wishes for down the road.
So we're trying to open up a few conservation
Yeah.
lands.
Yeah.
So conservation, last night, I think they talked about how they could get a sign made because it's not the router sign, wooden signs from the park anymore. But I went out and measured the one for my dad, it's like 8.5 feet. So we were thinking that would be the backside of the parking lot.
Yeah.
So that would delineate, you can't go that way.
Driving in further.
And then use the rock, the stone wall that's along Southeast Main, swing it over, and basically rebuild it as a delineation. So I guess we can ask, well, we should probably make a request to Mr. Wojak about, can we get a donation, and is this possible? Can we do this on easement versus public land? Right?
Yeah. Yep.
And that would cover the base. Do you have any other suggestions or recommendations on what we can do?
No, other than, if you get the tree slid, I mean, if we're good to go, we can scratch out the parking area.
Okay.
Then we need a little bit of gravel.
Yep.
But we'll need to get
The
the
question-
rocks moved before they
We're gonna try to
scratch
dig
out
the
the
stumps. We're
parking
gonna try
area.
to grind the stumps.
We would have to do.
Yeah.
Start a wall on the side.
Well, the stumps have to come out.
Yeah, so you cut the trees and you gotta take the stumps.
Yeah.
And then you gotta bring gravel in and level the area. Then move your stone wall, then level the area.
Yeah.
So that way you don't make a mess.
They'd probably get any better if we moved the stone wall first.
Bucket trucks can reach over. Bucket trucks can reach over pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we can get an estimate.
Yeah, as soon as you want to mark them, and then just give me a call and just say they're all marked. I'll bring the guy up there. Like I said, you can wrap a ribbon around them, surveyor's tape, and then I'll get the guy to come out and meet me up there, and we'll walk it, and that way he can then send you an estimate, or send me, and I'll send it to you guys.
Okay.
And that way you can have an estimate in writing, of how much it would cost.
Maybe I'll make the big pine in the back a different color or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
No, don't include that right now.
All right.
Get the parking lot
Yeah,
over.
they'll be like phase whatever.
Yeah.
That'll be,
You'll find
that'll
more.
be the rocks.
The way the trees are dying in this town, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
it's awful. It's all we do now. It's crazy. My list grows every day, and there's not enough money for any of it. So, but yeah, you'll find more, unfortunately, as you get down in there, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's like little pockets like Southwest Maine.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Webster Street, we had, Sean,
Trail is amazing.
2 or 3 years ago, we had all the trees that, were dead, all taken down, and I just went by, and I think I'm up to 17 that need to come down right now. Just on Webster Street. And like I said, there's not enough money to go around to keep doing it,
We all have a few of them
Exactly.
perched over the wires.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so
All right, well, that's a good start.
Okay.
Anything more, Lee?
Gets us started on our phase one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you don't start, you can't get it.
That's it.
Right, and
Exactly.
we got started again because the son of the woman who donated the land was like, I want a sign there. So he came
You know
in.
Brian? Brian
I
Peter?
don't know the name, but I remember the father, Tom.
Yeah, Tom's the one I remember taking, yeah.
Tom and Elaine, yeah.
Brian, I don't remember.
And he works for the DCR up in Princeton.
Oh, no kidding.
He's
Well,
like,
you
I
can
never
find
would have
us on
gotten
that
into it
side."
if it hadn't been for this nice private classroom in my backyard,
That's it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the softball.
Thank you.
Yeah, they hung to the corner. They're probably never on camera there.
I'm sure. Have a good day.
You too.
So this afternoon, I'll go out and mark the trees. Anybody want to meet me over there? Or I just figured it out myself.
So if we have an estimate, that way we can go to conservation, but we can also go to another vendor or two and say. Not that they have nothing to do these days. Bad. But maybe there's somebody we can work something out. And so then, you want, I'd prefer to have this on paper, so do you want me to draft a letter to the administrator so we can say we need to know if we can get this donated, and that our plan is to put a stone wall as a delineation and sign on the back of it, on the,
You want to write that letter?
yeah, I can do that. I'd rather get that done now before somebody says, what's the wall?
I mean, if he says, no, we can't, can we swing it the other way? So like on Catherine's property?
She probably wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
It would protect her.
I mean, so if he says, no, we can't put it on the easement, we can
Yeah.
always swing it the other way and still have the same amount of room.
At least keep the wall on the property.
Yeah.
Good idea. And then we'd have to stake or do something else to delineate that.
Yeah.
Or the gravel would delineate the.
Right.
Right.
But
Anything else?
What time do you think he'll go out there? Might be able to go later this afternoon. I gotta go water the common now.
Comment? This one or?
The one up the street.
I have some old business, a request. That piece of property that's up for sale on Long Lake Road, Sean Provencher is DCR's land acquisition that's in handling this whole thing. He has just gotten in touch with Tracy, but I wrote Sean a letter saying on behalf of Bay State, I think that the state should purchase this property with the various reasons why. And I asked the New England Mountain Bike Blackstone Valley chapter to have them send a letter to Sean, because I think that's an advocating for it to be preserved. And I was thinking a letter from the Open Space Committee addressed to.
so moved.
Yeah.
All in favor?
You need a second.
Second? All in favor?
Wait a minute, wait a minute. So who moved?
I second.
I can write, unless you want to write something up, I can give you Sean's email. Just
Send it
to
by email.
send it to him, because that's what I did.
You want to vote? You want to call for a vote?
I'll call for a vote.
All those in favor?
Sue calls.
Oh, sorry.
I'll call for a vote on that, on writing the letter to Sean on email about us wanting to push the purchase of the state on this property. All in favor? Aye. Second? We're good.
Can you send me the address, parcel number, whatever, and I'll send them an email. On behalf of the land trust. how are we communicating with the Conservation Commission that we're doing these things?
We at the property discussed that they would do the sign and we would do the groundwork.
Yeah, but I think it's important to
Say
share with them that this is where we are in the process. I'm going to ask Jen about the sign because I didn't get a chance to watch. I'm going to see if she has any details on the sign. But I just think it's good to keep them in the loop because the Kevens communicate through them.
Yep.
I can send them a letter.
Or just an email, or just send Jen an email that says, or address it to Steve Zisk, whatever, that says this is where we are and what we're doing, because I think this takes longer than.
You want to set a time to go? I mean, I need to water my garden. After lunch.
Yeah, as long- I just have to go up and water that and then,
Well, noon.
do you have the tape stuff or? Okay.
It's 11:17 now, already.
Yeah, if you want to wait till after lunch.
Yeah.
1:00 or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. Shouldn't take us too long. We can go home and put my boots on.
So that surface on the set's going to be sharp stone? The non-
No, it's 3/4 inch minus processed gravel. So that just means that there's a screen where the holes are 3/4 inch, and anything that falls through that is 3/4 inch minus processed gravel, which is really good for driveways and packing up. In fact, some of the cinder stones out there that we covered up, the sharp stones that used to be out there, that we covered up, and some of the other holes been covered up with that exact same material.
All right, anything new and different, we'll meet in 2 weeks. We'll be in touch in email. I entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. 11:17, all in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.